So this video is about pacing. I'm going to talk a bit about what is pacing and why is it important and how do we do it. And just advance warning, I don't have any easy answers. For me, it's one of the most infuriating and challenging parts of living with CFS, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit. So let's start with what is pacing. Well, it's this notion that we, with a depleted and finite amount of energy and a kind of system with a degree of mitochondrial dysfunction that is unable to replenish its energy stores as quickly and as efficiently as with most healthy people. Because of that, we have to really literally pace our activities. And the idea is that we try to contain our activities to within our daily activities to within about 80% of our energy envelope, our total energy capacity for any given day, leaving the remaining 20% for, recovery, healing, right? So far, so good. In principle, it's a great idea. Woo! In practice, I find it an absolute nightmare. So there are a few problems with it as I see it. Problem number one, how do you know what your 100% energy envelope is? So unfortunately, we don't all live in, ideal conditions. There's no way of I suppose, figuring out one's 100% energy envelope, one's capacity. We're not lab mice where perhaps, I could conceive of an experiment where mice might be very gradually built up in terms of their activity, starting from total rest and then gradually building up until in safe conditions they hit their 100% energy envelope. And at that point you go, okay, so now we can work out 80%. And from now on, that's going to be your envelope. That's going to be the kind of amount of energy that you've got to play with. We don't have that. We don't have that. So problem number one is, how the hell do you know? How the hell are you supposed to know what 80% of your energy envelope is? Problem number one. Problem number two is nearly 7 years on having this condition. I still don't know sort of what energy scores to assign to certain activities. I'm still not 100% clear. So that's slightly challenging. And what I mean by that is my job is intellectually demanding, right? But I'm just, for great portions of my day, I'm just sat down at a desk. So at the physical level, it's on non-teaching days, it's quite an undemanding job. But the degree of concentration I'm having to bring to the job frequently is really high. But how much energy is that taking? And how does that compare to, let's say, a run, which I haven't done for years, just for the record, since having CFS, or a walk, or talking, which right now I'm finding really difficult and is making me very lightheaded. And is it different talking one-to-one versus in a big group? And what about, in a crowd, the kind of sensory overload? So actually assigning a score to all of these different activities and knowing how they all add up and equate to your energy envelope. How how? Tell me how. Somebody tell me how. Then there is the problem of delayed onset fatigue, right? So again, how do you work out your energy envelope? Well, obvious answer is you figure out, when and how you feel tired after an activity. Great. Normal, healthy person, great. What about the person with ME/CFS, right? Who's suffering from delayed onset fatigue, which means that you can feel tired after an activity anything up to 48 hours after the activity. So if on any given day I'm tired, is it because of what I did in the morning? Is it because of what I did the day before? Or is it what I did the day before that? Or is it accumulation of all those things? I have no way of knowing. None. So again, tell me, someone. Seriously, please tell me how to do this. So pacing is fantastic, intelligent, logical in theory. In practice, it's really hard. Now, I have in the past adopted a kind of a method, a way of pacing that I picked up somewhere from some other brilliant person who was sharing their experiences. And what it involved was assigning a score as best I can, judging from, how it feels to do activities. So a really concentrated research activity might score a 2 in terms of energy. Going for a walk, just a pleasant walk, might be a 1. Lying down and reading might score a 0. Meditating might be 0 or -1, and sleeping -2, and so on and so forth. So that can be helpful. And I think when life is predictable, which it isn't very often, let's be honest, well, not in my life, it's not. When life's predictable, that's not bad. But I find it really hard because, for example, I might have mapped out my day with work, right? And then a student email comes in and they're having some kind of crisis. And what do? Do you go, no, actually, I have to have the nap that I've scheduled in to my day. So yeah, I can't see you until 2 days hence, right? Or I can't do that. If it's really hard not to perceive the nap as anything, it's hard to see it as essential. It's really hard to see it as essential. So that's a struggle that I have. And I think finally a big struggle that I have, and I can't be alone, surely, is that I just don't live within limits. I hate living within limits. I think part of the reason I'm where I'm at with this condition, and it is only part of the reason, it's not a fundamental reason, I think, but a part of it is that I do push boundaries. I don't live within limits. So, if I think back through my life, it's like, okay, so how good a gymnast can I become? Can I be in the national squad? Can I do that double back? Can I, let's try, let's do it, let's push. Can I write a book? I feel like writing a book. Can I write a book? I don't know. Let's do it. Let's try. I feel like traveling. All right, let's do it. Let's save like mad. And then go off traveling. And then PhD. That sounds good. That sounds really interesting, having loved my master's. Let's give it a go. And it's continually kind of doing things, trying things that I don't know if I can do them. And in the process growing. and learning all the time, and it makes life really exciting. And I think it's one of the things I hate, I detest about this condition, is the fact you have to live within your limits. You can't push anymore. Not in the same way anyway. And I'm speaking personally, I find that really difficult. So I've got to be honest. I think it is the one thing that I haven't fully accepted yet about my life and my condition. And maybe that's why I keep relapsing. You know, I think also having a full-time job really doesn't help. But I'm the main breadwinner, right? So you got to do what you got to do. My body forces me to listen. It tells me when it's had enough, when I've done too much, and it forces me. In no uncertain terms, it tells me I need to lie down. And I do. When it's possible and realistic, I listen to my body's signals, and I take it slower, or I lie down, or whatever. But I hate having to do that with absolutely every fibre of my being.